Have you ever found yourself frozen, staring at the ceiling, with 1,000 possibilities running through your head, and yet you still feel stuck? We often say things like, "I don't know what to do with my life. Can you give me some advice?" So now what? What's the next step? But deep down, that constant doubt isn't just about choices. It's about fear, about exhaustion, about that suffocating feeling of someone who's tired of blaming themselves for everything. And here's something most people don't realize: how much energy decision-making actually consumes. Daniel Kahneman, one of the most influential psychologists of our time, explains that our brain is always trying to conserve energy. And making decisions? It's draining. It takes effort. It burns through your battery. That's why when you're overwhelmed, clarity is the first thing to go. What looks like indecision is often just a desperate way to avoid even more guilt. We don't freeze because we don't know what we want. We freeze because we're afraid to get it wrong and regret it later. And there's another layer, even more subtle. When you ask for advice, sometimes you're not really asking for guidance. You're asking for permission, like, "Tell me what to do, so I won't have to carry the weight of this choice alone." Carl Rogers, a humanistic psychologist, said that we disconnect from our real self when we start living through other people's eyes, when we stop listening to ourselves and start acting just to be liked or accepted. And that's how we slowly get used to outsourcing everything, even our feelings. We cling to this illusion that there's a right answer out there, the perfect decision. But like the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard said, the anxiety of choosing is the price of freedom. And if you wait to feel 100% certain before you move, you'll never go anywhere. Because real life doesn't come with guarantees. It requires risk. It's like standing still with a broken Jeep, waiting for it to recalculate the route. But it never does. Because life doesn't recalculate. It just keeps going, with or without your decision. And that hurts. But it's also where freedom begins. And that's what we need to talk about. There's something no one really talks about, but maybe you know it all too well. That temporary relief you get when you ask someone a question and feel like you're doing something. You ask for advice, watch videos, send voice notes to friends. It feels like movement, right? But deep down, it's just another way to delay the decision. Constantly asking what to do can turn into a loop, a cycle that doesn't solve anything. It just masks the pain of having to choose for yourself. Gabor Mate, a physician and trauma expert, calls this kind of behavior an avoidance mechanism. You're not really looking for an answer. You're trying to escape the discomfort of owning the risk, because making a decision means taking responsibility. And what if it goes wrong? What if you regret it? Maybe it's better to ask again, better to wait a little longer, better to let someone else decide. The problem is, every time you hand the decision over to someone else, you reinforce this quiet belief inside you. I don't know how to choose. And that starts to chip away at your emotional autonomy. It makes you believe that the only safe way to live is when someone else approves, validates, or confirms your choices. The wild part? Even though you crave freedom, you end up trapped. You want autonomy, but also want someone to tell you what to do. You want to write your own story, but let someone else hold the pen. It creates this internal dissonance that hurts because you feel the potential in you, but never trust yourself enough to act on it. It's like being hungry and asking someone else to order for you. The food might even be good, but you leave the table feeling a bit empty because what you really wanted was to listen to yourself, to choose for you, even if it was just a grilled cheese. And that hunger to hear yourself gets stronger. Until one day, you realize asking too much isn't about seeking help anymore. It's just a more comfortable way of avoiding your own life. Sometimes, the issue isn't even the decision itself. It's the weight that comes with it. The fear of making the wrong choice, of regretting it, of being judged. And that fear often has deep roots back in childhood or your teenage years, when every choice came with criticism, punishment, or shame. Maybe you grew up hearing that making mistakes meant failure, that a wrong decision meant letting someone down. And those messages leave marks. Bessel van der Kolk, who studies how trauma affects the body, says that the body keeps the score. That includes the tight chest, The nausea, the racing heart, the lump in your throat, all of that can show up. Just because you need to make a simple decision, your body reacts like you're in danger. And honestly, once upon a time, maybe you were. But now, even when no one's pressuring you, you still try to avoid mistakes like your life depends on it. You start obsessing over the idea of a perfect decision. No risk, no pain, no failure. But, as philosopher Byung-Chul Han points out, we live in a performance culture. Everything is a display. And when life becomes a showcase, you start believing you have to get it right every time. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Otherwise, it's not worth sharing. And that wears you down. At the core, what many of us are chasing is an identity that's bulletproof, flawless, the image of someone who never messes up. But that's a trap. Beautiful on the outside, suffocating on the inside. Because being human is the opposite of that. It's trying, failing, learning, and doing it all over again. It's like trying to cross a bridge and waiting for it to appear all at once, but it never does. Because, as Albert Camus wrote, the path only reveals itself when you take the step. You don't see solid ground until you risk the move. There comes a moment when we need to realize making decisions isn't about control. It's about presence, about existing with intention, even in the middle of chaos. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who survived concentration camps, said that humans find meaning exactly when they choose, even in the face of suffering. Because choosing is how you say, I'm alive, my life matters, even with no guarantees. And maybe that's all courage really is. Moving forward, even while afraid. It's not about feeling ready. It's about being willing to feel the pain, willing to risk getting it wrong, and still deciding it's worth trying. Because every time you choose something on your own, without asking for approval, you stitch back a little piece of your identity. You start building, choice by choice, a version of you that no longer lives in fear. It might seem small, but deciding what to eat, what to wear, what to focus on today, it's already a beginning. Not to get it perfect, but to listen to yourself, to show your body and your mind that you can guide your own path, even with doubts, even with fear. And that changes everything. Because in the end, no one's going to tell you who you are. You don't discover that all at once. You build it, one step at a time, one risk at a time. If this video resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who also struggles to make decisions. This might seem like just a conversation, but maybe it's the start of something real and new.